Hi, welcome to Amanda's Book Corner. I'm Amanda, and this is my review of LaRose by Louise Erdrich. This is the second book I picked out for Native American Heritage Month, which is happening this month in November. And I picked this one because my sister actually has been encouraging me to read it. She read it about 4 or 5 years ago as part of a book club, and she's been encouraging me to read it too. And so I decided now is a perfect time to read it. Incidentally, the last book I read, Firekeeper's Daughter, featured Ojibwe characters, and this one, LaRose, does too. LaRose starts off in late summer 1999 in North Dakota. There are these two families that live next to each other. In one house, there's Landreau and his wife Emmeline and their kids. In the other house, there's Peter and Nola and their 2 kids. By the way, Nola and Emmeline are half-sisters. One day, Landreau is out hunting deer, and although he aims at the deer and pulls the trigger, he somehow misses and ends up shooting his friend/neighbor's 5-year-old son, Dusty. Dusty dies, and his parents, Peter and Nola, are understandably devastated. Landreau and his wife Emmeline feel terrible about it, and they decide to do something a little bit unconventional. Apparently it goes back to their Native American traditions, but what they do is they give up their son, LaRose, who's also 5 years old, and they give him to their neighbors to take care of and raise as their own, kind of in place of Dusty. From there, the book follows these 2 families and a few other characters as they come to terms with this new arrangement and overcome the grief of losing Dusty, and also deal with some issues from the past. So to be honest, I didn't really enjoy the first part of this book. The book is divided into a few different parts. And the first one, which covers 1999 through 2000, it was just very sad. I mean, of course I was expecting it to be sad, but it was emotionally wrenching in a certain way, but also strangely distant in a way that I didn't really feel that connected to the families. So it was kind of a downer to read, but I wasn't emotionally involved with the characters, if that makes sense. The only parts that I did like were the ones that harkened back to the mid-1800s and the first LaRose. Because I didn't mention, but LaRose, the child in 1999, he is the 4th LaRose in his family. The first LaRose was a woman in the mid-1800s. The second and third parts of the books were both pretty short, but I actually enjoyed them a lot more. One of them focused on that original LaRose and her life growing up in the mid-1800s, her relationship with a man named Wolfred, the man that they escaped from, and how he haunted them forever after that, and how she battled tuberculosis. So I enjoyed that part. I also enjoyed the part with young Landreau. Landreau is the one who shot Dusty. Young Landreau and his childhood best friend, Romeo. So I enjoyed seeing them when they first met at school, at a boarding school, and how they escaped and tried to, I think they were trying to find Landreau's family, but in the end their adventures took them elsewhere. So I enjoyed watching them when they were young and the kind of adventures that they got up to, but also the problems that emerged that would later haunt both of them into adulthood. And then the final parts of the book returned back to the main plot, which was about young LaRose being part of a different family now, even though he knows who his real parents are, and how these 2 families, the parents and the kids alike, are coming to terms with this arrangement. So these later parts are set in the early 2000s at that point, 2002, 2003, and we're starting to see how things finally start to even out a little bit for them, and how relationships are starting to be mended and people are starting to heal. So there's a lot I did like about this book. I liked pretty much all of the children characters, the children and teens. I liked all of them, and I thought they were all very interesting and compelling. LaRose is a great young boy. I like how he has an old soul, and he's very kind and gentle, but he's not weak, and I like him. His new sister, Maggie, is definitely interesting, and I wouldn't mess with her. She's a little bit dangerous, a little bit unpredictable in certain ways, but I like her. And then I like LaRose's full siblings at home as well. His sisters Snow and Josette, and his brothers as well. I think all of these are interesting and compelling characters, and actually I would have liked to focus more on them. I didn't enjoy the adult characters, really any of them. I didn't like them. Even like with Landreau and Romeo, I didn't like them that much as adults, but I did like them, or enjoy their story at least, when they were younger, as when they were kids. So I thought that was interesting. Which says to me it's not necessarily about the character, it's about maybe what they're doing or how they're portrayed or how they're behaving now. I'm not sure. This book also talks a lot about grief and about mental illness. And in the case of one character, she's very depressed and suicidal. I often didn't like her, but then as I started to understand the mental health issues that she was facing and those clues started emerging more strongly, I started to feel more for her, but I still didn't like her character so much. There's also other issues, like there is an issue of sexual assault which emerges a few times in the book, and also drug addiction. That's another theme that plays a big role in this book as well. For me, while I liked a lot of elements within the book, while I liked a lot of parts within it, I never really liked the whole of it, if that makes sense. I feel like the whole was never as much as the sum of its parts. I just think for me it never really coalesced into one narrative that made sense together. For me it just felt kind of disjointed, and I never really felt emotionally invested with the stories that were happening. I think I would have enjoyed it more if we focused more on a few different aspects and eliminated others. But I think also the writing style was a little bit distant for me. It's not badly written. I mean, Louise Erdrich is an incredible writer, and she's beloved for a reason. And this is literary fiction, which is something that's kind of hit and miss for me. But in this case, I think it just didn't really connect with me. For example, there were no quotations used throughout the book, although characters did speak, they did have conversations. The lack of quotation marks kind of made it feel less involved. And I don't know, for me it just made me care less about what was going on and what they were saying. So while there's a lot of good in this book, I just never really quite enjoyed it. And although I was interested in how things would turn out, I kind of had to force myself to keep reading it. So in the end, I gave this one 3 stars. So I hope you enjoyed this book review video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. And to make sure you don't miss any more of my videos, please ring the bell for all my notifications. I'll be making more book review videos like this one at least once or twice a week. And in the next few weeks, I'm also going to start putting out additional content as well that you won't want to miss. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!